We are over here in Barcelona, and right now we have two very special guests. It's Trip and David, and I'm very honored to have you over here. Thank you for
Thanks
coming
for having
over.
us.
Probably a lot of people already heard about Verano. It's one of the biggest cannabis companies in the world. It's also what I heard, it's called an MSO. Maybe Trip, can you explain to us what is an MSO? You as a COO probably know a lot of stuff about it. What does MSO mean?
MSO is a multi-state operator, so it's a term that the industry coined, just operating across state lines. Right now we're in 13 states, so we're operating in a number of locations, but we cannot move any of the product across state lines. So we have to set up operations in each state.
You're like representative of different states in the USA, and it's like all separated?
Correct.
And do you also do stuff like outside of the US, or is it just in the US? Of course, I know you're here right now. We're coming to the topic later on.
Yep.
But at the moment, are you also operating outside of the States? Okay.
We're not. We're just focused in the US.
What I'm interested in, like, what's the reason for your trip coming to Barcelona?
We wanted to come over here, get to understand the European market, the nuances of each country, and how each operate, and try to look for some opportunity here for potential expansion.
Can we get some insights of what your actual jobs are over there, like the daily business? I already heard you were going from the pheno hunting until packaging.
Yep.
There's a lot of processes in between. That's probably your job. So maybe
Exactly.
to get like a quick overview in a couple of sentences.
My focus is mainly on cultivating and producing all of the products. So overseeing the teams, working with everybody to make sure that we're growing properly, extracting, infusing, and getting the product out the door. So that includes everything from cloning, so taking the cuttings off of the mom and growing it through flower into dry and cure phases, and then infusing it or packaging up the flower that we sell and getting it out the door. So really from beginning to end.
And then probably you should have an overview over all the states' operations. Is it like that? So you have like different stations in different states, and you're overwatching all of them, or how's it going there?
Unfortunately, because of the laws, it is the most inefficient business model that one could have, where you can't centrally manufacture. So we have to manufacture and grow the product in each state. So we're basically replicating our operations in each state to different scale. Some states have limits on how many dispensaries you can own, but generally the same business model.
Okay, so probably when you're finished with your job, then it's David coming into the game.
He's got to sell it.
Yeah, here you go.
Because David is the marketing chief, and what's your part over there? So product is now, you have like several products.
So yeah, the business is complex. There's a lot to it, but it fundamentally breaks down into two primary segments. There's wholesale distribution, CPG manufacturing, and then retail. Mm-hmm. We operate on both ends of that business. We've got 138 dispensaries across 13 or 14 states, in addition to what Trip was just describing on the manufacturing side of our business, which is live in 13 states. I think 10 of which or 11 of which we're vertically integrated. So we produce product and we distribute through all of retail, but also through our own retail. What I do and what my team is responsible for on the production manufacturing side is portfolio management, brand development, essentially building our portfolio of consumer brands, covering the broadest array of consumers that we possibly can, which we can get into in some more detail. And then on the retail side of our business, we have a massive owned, robust digital ecosystem where we market directly to customers and patients across all of our states, depending on what the market conditions are. Yeah, essentially huge retail network across 14 states. That's websites, that's e-commerce, that's rewards programs, it's D2C communications, mobile application. A lot of direct to consumer marketing. So we've got a big part of my team focused on wholesale brand development, distribution. The other half of the team really focused on our retail brands, our retail networks, and a digital team that sort of straddles between the two that manages the sort of ecosystem infrastructure that lets us operate and talk and send messages and get feedback and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. It's very different in comparison to other businesses. How do you face issues like advertisement? Since, I mean, I know it from Germany, I don't know how it is in the States, but probably you're not allowed to make big signs in the streets, buy our cannabis and stuff, you know, so is it an issue to walk around that?
It depends on how you look at it. It's definitely not an issue, but it's evolved quite a bit. So I've been with Verano for 5 years, in the industry for just as long. And when I first started, I mean, you really couldn't do anything anywhere. Yeah. As more states, I think we're at now 30, somewhere between 33 and 35 U.S. states have some form of cannabis program. Yeah. 21 or 22 of them are recreational. So those are states where it's like Illinois, like California, Massachusetts, Arizona, many others, where it's kind of a wide open rec market. In those states, it starts to get a little bit more lenient in terms of what you can do and channels that are available to you. Mm-hmm. There are still some major sort of showstoppers in that the largest, most efficient ad channels in the world, and like the Google alphabets and Meta Instagrams, they still have category prohibition. Yeah. So no cannabis advertising allowed. When Elon Musk bought Twitter, he sort of made a statement and a stand to say that I'm going to allow it. So we've had that channel open up to us, and that's been great for the time we've had it. But overall, it's very restrictive. Yeah. But there are sort of pockets and opportunities in certain states where you can, you can get your message out if you're willing to A, take some risks, and B, know the letter of the law and follow the rules as best you can.
Last time I was talking to Darren, he was talking about also a lot of difference between the states. So it's not too easy to have like one system that works in every state. So can you tell me something about how you have to, get into or fit into these different state regulations?
The most obvious difference is that some states are medical only and some states are recreational. Yeah. And that just means much larger addressable market, more lenient rules, more opportunities, certainly from a marketing perspective. And I think that letters down to the operational side. But there are also massive differences between states that are both medical or both recreational. So you can look at a state like Pennsylvania, a very large state in the U.S., and a state like Florida, another very large state in the U.S. with massive populations. Both are medical only. Yeah. They're very different landscapes. In Pennsylvania, it's technically a non-combustion state. So there are no pre-rolls sold in the market.
Okay. Yeah, I see that.
In Florida, it's medical only, and it's completely vertical siloed. So there's no wholesaler distribution. Yeah. Everything sold in every dispensary is solely made by the operator who owns the dispensary and the cultivation facility. So there are certain things that are obviously very transitive for us from a strategic perspective, and the scale of our business allows us to apply learnings as efficiently as one maybe could across the footprint. Yeah. But every state is so different, and there's no cookie cutter, one size fits all solutions. So the most valuable to us are probably our owned channels, like our mobile application, our rewards program, our email lists, the things that we own and control and can leverage to directly communicate with our patients and customers. Twitter, now X, has become extremely valuable to us, and we've also found ways to, with clever partners and persistence and making some mistakes, but figuring some things out along the way, have found ways to be creative and leverage tools within the Google platform that are not wide open to us, but have there are some side streets. So it would be hard to pick one, because the nature of our game is everything is changing so quickly. Channels are available one day, not available the next. So I don't know that I could single out one, but beyond the stuff that we own, our websites, our rewards programs, our mobile app, like that's precious because it's ours, and nobody's gonna turn that off on us one day.
Yeah, maybe let's get the dynamic switch.
That's enough for me for a minute.
We have we can do a lot of switches, and if this information is too sensible, we can cut it out. But I was just thinking about, because I heard about it, that in terms of scale, like the Verano went so big. I heard that there were already restrictions in some states that that you cannot do more. Is
Sure.
that true?
Yeah. So certain states have restrictions. Some are on the amount of flower canopy that you can have. So the square footage where you're allowed to flower. Another example of restrictions is you can only own so many dispensaries. So in a state like New Jersey or Massachusetts, you're capped at 3.
Yeah. It's like the number. It's not a percentage. It's a specific number.
Yeah.
Okay.
And other states you can have as many as you want.
Yeah.
So a little bit of differences there from a retail perspective as well as operational.
Maybe to get a little bit into this comparison, you know, because you guys are big on the American market, now going to Europe, being here in Barcelona, talking to the German guys, you know. What do you see, or what's the most interesting thing for you to find out here in the European market? Because I heard, for example, Germany is very much comparable from the mass of product to California, something like that, maybe. So it's an interesting market for you probably as well, you know. And what's the things? What are the things you want to find out that are important to you to know about the European market? Maybe in terms of terps, in terms of smoking habits and stuff like that, you know.
Understanding the consumer is the most important thing that you can do. And as we were discussing earlier, there are definitely some nuances and differences between how end consumers consume the product in Europe versus in America. And our mission here in Spannabis is to really understand a little bit more about that end consumer, what products are moving, and just like you asked me, the differences in each state. What are the limitations? How are companies set up in each of the countries, and how do they work together via exportation, certain certifications like CGMP or European GMP facilities and things like that. So
would you be shocked, for example, if I tell, I mean, I told you now already, but would you be shocked if I tell you most of the Germans put 50% tobacco in their joints?
Yes. And in the US, it's very different. They're more, somebody called it purists. So typically smoking just the cannabis flower, not mixing in, but that is an important dynamic to the end consumer, how products are catered, you know, if they're going to allow the mixing of tobacco and cannabis in the future. In the United States, there's no mixing allowed, but we'll see what the future holds. But
and what are, from your perspective, what are the first big differences you found out? Like, probably you've been to Barcelona before, I'm pretty sure. Have you been to Germany before, by the way?
I have not.
No.
I have not.
Okay.
Got to come out and visit you.
Yeah, I mean, now it's probably a good point, because now we are starting to decriminalize or step by step legalize it, and maybe now the stuff with the shops, with the social clubs is coming. What do you think, by the way, of the concept of social clubs, maybe from a business point of view?
Sure. So there are a few states in the U.S. that allow consumption lounges, social clubs. The problem from a business perspective is that in the U.S. you cannot purchase cannabis in the club. You bring your own. So
it's just a consuming area.
At the end of the day, if you're the one owning the club, it's very limited revenue opportunities. Some of them don't even allow food or drinks. So you're really just providing a space where you could charge admission, admission fees at the door. But you're not generating any revenue beyond that. So I think it's a great place for the consumer, especially if you're visiting from a city or you don't have a place to consume and hang out like you would at home. But there's not a lot of revenue generating opportunity there, and I'm not sure how it's set up in Europe or Germany specifically. But
I mean, I can tell you for now, the plan in Germany is to have like social club, the concept of social clubs, where you can have 500 members and they grow their own weed, you know. So they pay some monthly fee, you know, for the grower to make it and stuff. But let's see how it goes, because we are still in the process of legalization. So there's a lot of stuff coming up, which is probably a good point to ask you guys, as you have more experience in the cannabis market already, involving in the long time now in the USA. What would be an advice you could give, like to the German market? You know?
Sure. A lot of people, I'm sure, are really interested in getting into this space. It's new, it's exciting, and with that come a flood of people getting into the space. And I think doing your research and making sure that you're partnering up with the right people, that you're getting into the right side of the business that you want to be on is really important, because there are a lot of people that are promising a lot of things in the beginning, and everyone's trying to figure it out at the same time. So just making sure that you're partnering up with the right people. I don't know if you have anything else.
Yeah. I think I'll piggyback off that because there's such a rush, and I think there's an allure with cannabis in the early days where I think there's an assumption that people who get the opportunities and will work in cannabis are going to be hanging around smoking and chilling a lot of the time. And that may be true sometimes, but the business end of it is very challenging, very trying. It will test you.
Yeah.
I think if I could go back and sort of talk to myself a few years ago, it would be follow the data, follow your gut, make mistakes, and then get better and fix them.
Yeah.
Like it's messy. You're going to screw things up. You've got to move fast because there are so many people flooding that this isn't like a more established traditional CPG industry where you can take 3 to 5 years and develop your perfect product and tee everything up. And no, you got to take swings. You got to move. You got to go and accept the fact that failure is going to be part of it. When you make mistakes, don't repeat them. And you'll just keep getting better and better over time. And I think that mantra and ethos is definitely, it's been good to us. Not that it's been great to us all day, every minute, but I think in the aggregate, it's served us well.
Talking about people flooding the market, what would you say as a marketing chief of Verano? How do you see your chances on coming to the German market, for example? Like, how's that situation looking like?
So the full transparency answer would be I have no idea, and that's why we're here, because
we can also do the half transparency thing.
Well,
you know, or we cut it out and have it private information.
We don't know, but that's why we're here, right? Trip mentioned this. Culture is huge in cannabis, so it's tough to fake it. You've got to get on the ground. You've got to learn the dynamics, the consumers, the players. That's why we're here spending time with people like you guys who are the experts here and who know what's going on. And this is new for us. We've got a lot to learn. So I'll have a better assessment on where it is that we'll fit or what opportunities might be right for us here. For now, the best thing that we can do is get to know the people who know.
Now that you're here in Barcelona, do you have like specific events where you're going to, specific people you want to meet? That are important for you for the European market, probably not only Spanish people, because everybody's here at the moment. Like, what are you aiming to find out in the next days? And what's the plan for this cannabis week here in Barcelona?
We're going where you're going. That's the truth. No, we definitely want to meet with as wide a variety of players as we possibly can. Understanding that Europe and the U.S. are not terribly alike, just in terms of geography. The U.S. is one big country with a bunch of states, and this is a continent with many countries. So there's a different dynamic going on here that at the same time as the way this industry unfolds, I think we'll see a lot of parallels. What happens in Europe may end up 10 years from now looking a lot like what happened in the US in the mid-2010s. So meet as many folks as we can and get as smart as we can and figure out what's next.
I just wanted to bring in some, because I was talking about this tobacco culture thing, because we have one video on Instagram which is clicked a lot, where our biologist explains where the culture came from. And I never knew it by myself, because I always smoking the weed with the tobacco. But it made sense to me, because he was saying that our culture is coming from the Morocco hash culture, and they were used to smoke the hash with tobacco, of course, you know. So also, I think in Germany they smoked a lot of hash with tobacco, and now we are here smoking a lot of tobacco, you know. I mean, of course, it's shit. Don't smoke the tobacco, I can say, you know. But yeah. Maybe, do you have a story to share, both of you, or each of you? Maybe some crazy story that happened to you in the cannabis industry that's a little like, oh, what? You know? Do you maybe have some cool cherries for us, you know?
Years ago, I was fortunate enough to meet a number of musicians in the space, as cannabis and music is closely aligned. And we were working with Snoop Dogg, and we were going to sign the deal with Snoop Dogg, and he did a cooking show with Martha Stewart.
Yeah, I think I remember that.
It was Martha and Snoop's potluck dinner or something like that. And we went out to LA and we were sitting down with him. And
was that David's idea or what?
Yep. And just sitting there, getting to meet him, getting to meet Martha, it was just really funny, and walking around with them because they're just a dynamic duo, and it's great to spend time with them and
we all got shocked like 3 weeks ago when Snoop.
Oh, no smoke.
Yeah. And I was like really overthinking my whole life. I was like, fuck, man. Censor that word. I maybe have to stop smoking the weed now.
Right.
Maybe he did it wrong his whole life.
Right.
2 weeks later, I'm like,
I was gonna say I was curious when I saw that too. It was gonna take a lot for that man to stop. So
this is probably one of the things that are very similar, like the Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre stuff in Germany. We love these guys, so that's I think a big part of our smoking culture as well, because like, you know,
they're synonymous. I mean, the Snoop time, and marijuana.
Even when I walk through these streets, I saw some guys walking, you know, grabbing bottles, and I just hear like 50 Cent, like, another wangs now, and I'm like, it's still going on. You know? So that's very cool.
It's great.
Yeah, thank you for that story, David. How about you? You have like, hopefully he didn't stole your story.
Yeah, I don't know if I can follow that. I think. My first dinner with Ric Flair, which I don't know if he's a known commodity over here.
I don't know him, no.
He was
what's his name? Ric Flair?
Yeah, he was a legendary wrestler in the States, like in the 80s into early 90s, like WWE, like play wrestling. And he's a legend and an icon, and we did some a temporary partnership deal with them where we did some licensing, and so we got to spend some time with Rick. And yeah, as a kid growing up in the U.S. in the 80s and 90s, he's like, you can't believe you're meeting him, and he was everything you would hope he was and more. So that one stands out. But otherwise, just the overall story of cannabis, certainly my arc in cannabis, starting with Verano in early 2019. This was pre-rec in Illinois, which is our home state, my home state. You know, going from a company in 3 states with, you know, a few facilities, and within a 5-year period going public, getting to almost 140 stores, over 1.2 million feet in cultivation and production across 14 states. Like that within itself is sort of my crazy story.
Now that I hear that, that would be also an interesting thing, how you came into this business, you know?
I think it was Dr. Dre's The Chronic. I spent about right after school, I studied journalism and Spanish in college, actually, of all things. I went right into the advertising business. In Chicago, there's a large sort of professional scene of advertising agencies. So I worked in a couple ad shops. I worked on some really big brands, and then I went to a small agency and worked on, I mean, I've sold everything from bug spray to power boats and forklifts and television channels and everything in between, which is amazing. It's an amazing education in the transitive principles of marketing, right? Understanding a consumer, connecting with them, differentiation, value creation, on and on. at some point in 2017, 18,
Who was it?
through some mutual connections, got introduced with the leadership team at Verano at that time.
Yeah.
I don't know that they were even technically called Verano. It might have been right around the formation. Went in there with my old boss at an ad agency to meet with the team to pitch them on our services.
Yeah.
The opportunity didn't materialize, but I had met Darren. I think I had met George. You know, the executive crew at the time, all of whom are still, for the most part, with the company today. And so that was a seed that was planted. I've been a cannabis lover, you know, my whole adult life.
Yeah.
Grew up in a community where it was not demonized and ostracized. So I think I had a unique sort of upbringing in terms of my view on cannabis and my acceptance of it. And so, yeah, it was like a year after that initial meeting, got a call, and Verano was starting to build out their own marketing function.
Yeah.
Took the leap. That was like 6 months before Illinois went rec, and then you know, the rest of the ascent went on. It's been wild.
That sounds like you're happy with the way how it went. No,
there are worse things that you could be doing than, you know,
for sure,
producing and selling weed.
How about you, Trip? Like, how it went?
Great question. I think it's a question for everybody that's in the space. I started out in finance, and of all things, I was focused on the oil and gas industry. So people that were drilling for oil and natural gas.
We're talking about oil and gas, not cannabis oil.
I'm still selling oil. It's just a different type of oil.
I see.
And I was living in New York City at the time, but a lot of companies are headquartered in Denver. And was going out there for work, and Colorado was the first state to legalize recreationally, and started to see the business grow. Dispensaries were popping up everywhere, and this was a time where there was nothing on the internet. You weren't just browsing online, learning about grow methods or companies or anything like that. The only way to really understand what was going on was to meet with people. And so I would cold call companies or find the phone numbers on the back of packaging, you know, to get a hold of the companies and offer to buy anybody drinks or dinner that would sit down and sort of teach me about the space. And then decided that I wanted to do this, and moved out to Colorado, because at that time the industry wasn't coming on the east side of the country. It was mainly going out to California and Washington and Oregon and all the West Coast states. So I figured I had to, in order to get into it, I had to move. So I up and moved to Colorado, and been doing it ever since.
It was a hard decision, no?
So
hopefully you didn't left your girlfriend.
Oh,
Shit.
Exactly.
Oh, fuck.
Exactly.
It
happened.
Oh, I saw that in your face. I'm sorry.
No, good.
Now you're happy with the decision, probably.
It's been, like David said, it's a crazy industry. You meet a lot of people. I think that's one of the things I really enjoyed, is everyone's coming from a different walk of life. You have the industry that I came from before in finance was very cookie cutter. You kind of knew who you were dealing with and their background. And here it's lawyers, you know, ex-drug dealers. You have people that are coming from all these different walks of life, and shed different perspectives on the business, how to operate, and it's really fun to work with that dynamic group of people.
I have to say yes to that, because it's crazy for me to see how different the people are. Like, from how you said ex-drug dealers to like super high-end science doctors, coming in with the terp profiles and stuff like that. So that's insane. What did you saw, like, trending stuff in the last years? Like, there's of course different products. Like in cannabis, you can do from the flower to the infused joints. But what's some stuff that's trending at the moment or in the last years that you underestimated or that you didn't expect to pop off?
Sure. Pop up, pop off. So this is another area where state by state there are going to be some unique dynamics. Just in some states form factors aren't allowed, and in others they are. By and large, across the board, you see a pretty consistent dynamic of about 90 to 95% 2 or 3% of the overall product mix, going into 4 main form factors: in flower, pre-roll, vape, and gummies.
Ah, okay, okay.
So it's interesting that that's generally true anywhere you go, no matter what products are or not allowed, excluding any of those.
Yeah.
What we've seen in recent years, one interesting dynamic I think is that on the edible side, gummies are the 900-pound gorilla. It's to use a U.S. term.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's familiar.
No, I don't know what it means.
Yeah, a 900-pound gorilla is like the thing that everyone else is chasing. So I think that's interesting. We've seen in the last year to 2 years on the edible front, really within gummies, a really strong pull towards full spectrum RSO-based edibles as opposed to what is the more traditional, distillate gummy.
Yeah.
Which I think speaks to the consumer just getting smarter, more sophisticated in terms of what they're looking for.
Yeah.
Wanting those terpenes in an edible experience. I know that that's certainly true for myself. I think a similar dynamic is played out in the vape category, in that within the last 2 to 3 years, there was a lot of push toward live vapes as opposed to something maybe a little bit lower on the positioning scale, like a distillate and botanical vape. And stop me if any of this is.
No. I know that. I know
Okay.
that. We have we cut it out, but we have it as well in Germany.
Yeah. So live resin got very big in the last year. Live rosin got very big in terms of cartridges.
Yeah.
And those products tend to get all of the attention. Like that's what's hot. That's what's cool. That's what sells. In reality, the vape category is dominated by those distillate and botanicals.
Yeah.
I think it's like 60 to 65% of the category, and it represents 80 to 85% of the category's net growth.
Yeah.
So it's one of those weird counterintuitive areas as far as a market trend where the thing that's cool, that gets the attention, that has shelf appeal, is actually not the dominant force in the category. So there's a tendency to sort of push the distillate and botanicals to the side, and in reality, that's a monster business.
Because I really like these cartridges. They came to Germany. Maybe we have to cut that out, but they came to Germany from my perspective like 8 years ago. Like on the black market, of course, and it was very hard always to get them and stuff like that. So I think the Germans, here we can jump in again. I think the Germans are looking forward to get these kind of resin, and that's what I wanted to ask. You said RSO. Am I right with that? RSO is like an extract which still maintains the terpenes.
It's a crude extract. And
what does it mean, crude?
It's full spectrum. So you're basically taking the whole plant and running it. So you're getting anything that's good from the full beautiful plant. It stands for Rick Simpson oil. It was created by this guy. He's like an OG. He was sick. He had cancer, and he was just experimenting with ways to get the plant into the purest, most potent form, and he came up with it. So the name has sort of stuck. It's Rick Simpson oil.
That's what I was always thinking. Like they have the distillate in the cartridges, and I put back some terpenes in it, and I'm like, but you already had them in there before. Like it's double the process, some kind of, and it's a different flower afterwards. Somehow you're smoking there, but. I'm very happy to hear that because I like these cartridges very much, and I hope that this RSO is coming to Germany as well.
One other interesting trend for you.
Market. Yeah.
So on the edible front, with gummies, like in the early days of programs, I thought this would be interesting because this might be something that we see in Europe over the next kind of couple of years. But in the early days of programs, you'll see a lot of microdose gummies dominating a space, right? Because people who have never had cannabis before are going to be looking for 2 milligrams or 5 milligrams, and that's going to be all the rage and get a lot of attention.
Yeah.
Now it's 2 years later, and we're making 50 and 100 milligram gummies, and that's what people are shopping for. So I mean, the speed of
tolerance
of the hockey stick up to go from like 2 milligrams being a big part of the market to 50 and 100 milligrams in a single piece.
It's difficult to say if that's a good thing or a bad thing, because of course it's also in our responsibility to have like responsible consumers, Sure. But at the same time, of course, like it's not deniable, it's going to happen probably in Germany as well. I just know that I take 100 milligrams edible and
you wake up a week later.
Yeah.
David said that trend's really driven by the loyal end consumer.
Yeah.
Right. That's coming in to the dispensary multiple times a month. That's buying. They're your regular consumer. That's the strong base that we want to make sure that we're taking care of while we're making products for new emerging consumers that are coming in or cannabis curious and trying to dip their toe in.
I'm very happy, guys. I would from my perspective, come to the last words. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very grateful that I had you over here on our rooftop in Barcelona. And I think it's a very special situation because normally when we've been talking to your president, like he used to ask a lot of questions, how is this and that. And now we get some information from you guys and I'm very happy about that. And yeah, I'm looking forward to see some nice events. We will see each other on the events probably as well.
Absolutely.
And yeah, if you have any comments or any questions, just write it in the comments. And yeah, this is Trip and David from Verano, and see you next time, guys.
Right? Yeah.
You know, I was like so.
That's great.
Thanks.
Yeah, also like.